I'm going to go to Andy Mark. I'm going to download. I'm going to download AM142, just the standard. That's fine. Please. Okay, let's see here. CAD. So I think I'm going to be using the wide. I'm going to use the square CAD because the square CAD is kind of the dimensions that we're going for here. Just drag that in here. I got AM142. Takes a moment to start up. It's a pretty big file, so I can't, so it takes a while to start up, and my computer's kind of slow. Yeah, it seems that we have 3 viewers in the chat. I believe that one of them is, wait. Should I say the names of the viewers? Maybe that's a bad idea. I'm not, okay. I can meme? Wait, I can meme? I don't understand! Can I meme? Okay, Twitch chat is telling you that I can meme. Yeah, of course. But it's not done. Okay, a viewer asked, did you just download that off of AndyMark? Yes, I did just download that off of AndyMark. However, there are modifications that need to be made because it's not the right size yet. And it's really hard to deal with this, actually, so wish me luck. This is the fun part, you know? Okay. I think I'm going to start with the end plates. I'm going to need to delete the wheels. I'm going to need to... I don't need belts, really. I am going to need to remove the end plates. The gearboxes don't come with sims. We're going to have to add those. But I'm just going to start with the side plates. So here we go. And actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new file, which is going to be... I'm going to name it using our naming convention that I'm using for this year. Let me see here. So our Twitch chat viewer has just asked what the naming convention is. The naming convention is very simple. Can I not see chat messages? Yeah, I gotta show my recent viewers something interesting. Give me a second. I'm looking for the naming conventions here to satisfy that viewer. I posted the notification. What is it? I believe my viewers are going to start spamming the chat pretty soon. Yeah, I received a come on bro in the chat. I can't even, where is my, 2018 build system post tracker. So the way it works is that each subassembly is given a number, and then each, I can show you that. So each subassembly is given a number. Each revision, I'll have revisions after I revise stuff, but I haven't revised anything yet. So, and then each part of like, and then if I have a sub file under that, it gets the next digit, and the last digit changes. So, but then I have a document which tells me what the name of the item is, what the status of the item is, the quantity that I need my machinist to make, the location, and then I'll probably have links to like drawings on the side so people know what they're making. But for now, I'm going to not do that. That was a mistake. I'm going to start by copying these over to my new assembly. And this one, all the stuff that I need from this assembly, I'm going to take over to the other assembly. I don't really need to CAD the churros or the bolts or these parts. They're not really important. So I am going to take this end plate over too. I am pausing the stream shortly. Okay, so now that I have... So now all I'm going to do is basically just recreate the side and then add some bolts in and the wheels and do whatever else I need to do. Okay, here we go. I do not actually remember what the dimension of this object was. Okay, 27 inches. Beautiful. That's actually not what I want. I believe the part on the... Huh. I actually cannot use this part because it is not the quite the dimensions that I need it to be. The dimension that I need this part to be is 30-something inches. So I'm gonna see how long these are though. And these are 28. 28 is what the size I think I need for that. Slightly smaller, perhaps. And I'm going to download the other part, the end plate, off of Andy Mark again, because that was not the right size end plate. Download. Drop this in. Open it up. I actually didn't want to open the file. I just needed to place it, but that's fine. So you'll see that this end plate is actually significantly larger than the other end plate was. It's 31 inches, which is the size that comes in the kit of parts. So I'm just gonna drop that in. I'm actually just gonna copy it over because I don't really need the end plate. So now I can delete this one. I don't really care. And then I can start constraining stuff. So we did not cut down this back plate at all. So I will maintain that size. I'm gonna constrain it to one of these. Actually, I believe we cut it down 1 inch. I need to confirm. But the ruling. I have to pursue the robot sizing rules. Which are way down the menu. 31 wide. Ah, yes, 31 wide, that's good. And 28 long. Beautiful. I will just assemble that. We'll see how it looks. I actually think that one of these may have been cut down slightly. We will deal with that later, if at all. I did that wrong. The end plate Okay, now that's part's done. I can run it again. Can do it again. I'm going to pause the stream. I am testing my push to talk, which is a button I didn't know about earlier, because I want to talk to people. So, does this work? Is tilde the push to talk? Yes, I think tilde is the push to talk button. I think. I am testing again if the push to talk button works. If somebody could confirm that it works in the chat. My push to talk button works apparently. So that's what I'll be using to communicate now. So right now I'm just setting up the gearboxes for the most part. This is a pretty easy task. I do need to check the dimensions because I'm not quite sure if these are correct, but I am this is mostly coming along. As soon as I'm done adding the rest of the wheels and checking the dimensions, I'll add the sim motors, and then I will probably check that I've got everything CADed up properly. But we're basically at the end of this. So as far as CAD goes, this is like basically what it is. You know, it's assembly of objects, making sure everything's dimensioned right and put in place. But soon, hopefully, I'll be working on part files for the mechanisms that we'll be creating, and those will be maybe that'll be a little bit more fun. So this is a bit of an issue with the gearboxes in this assembly. Sometimes you just can't constrain stuff together, and you're going to have to deal with that. It's just going to be a thing that happens. Try to make everything fit as well as you can, but if something doesn't fit, leave it and just make sure it's constrained and put in the right place. It's gonna be okay. So I'm splitting my wheels up into separate wheel assemblies so that it's a little bit easier to work with them later on. I'm using the naming convention, which is basically just a number of the mechanism. 4 is the drive base, 1 is the subassembly, and then so on and so forth. So quick little thing here. There's a thing called grounding in Inventor, which is basically just being able to stop something from moving whenever it's constrained or whenever it's moved by hand. This is a really useful and important technique because you really need to be able to make sure that stuff doesn't move and to make sure that stuff stays the same at all times. Or at least everything's done around a reference point so that the whole assembly is not moving, it's just parts around parts. So a couple of things here that I'll mention now that I've got the time. Uh, when you see this little, like, I guess it's like a do not enter kind of mark, like this little slash in the circle, that means that everything's basically perfectly constrained. I can't move anything because everything's constrained around this grounded wheel. This is good. This is kind of what you want when you're making an assembly because it means that everything is assembled properly, everything is fitting together. Now another thing is that when you're making assemblies, when you're making any CAD model, you don't need to CAD everything. Don't overdo what you need to do because you only have 6 weeks or however much you have to CAD your robot. Do not overdo your CAD making specific bolts and fasteners that don't actually impact the function and form of your CAD. So instead of making a spacer here, which I could easily make or copy over into the other document, I'm just going to find out what the size of the spacer is and then use it as use the mate and offset tool to actually put the wheel in the right place. These make really good spacers, by the way. So even if you don't need the hex hub, the hole, they make really good spacers for just like when you're trying to space out wheels from each other or like you're making an intake. I recommend these. They're pretty durable and they work well. So you see I just used the mate offset tool, so now it's in the perfect position, it's not interfering with anything, and it's just working beautifully. Another really cool tool that I'll show you real quick is the Analyze Interference tool. So sometimes you're going to be making a part and you're not going to know whether you've messed something up or you've done something that wouldn't actually work in real life. The Analyze Interference tool really helps solve that. So all I have to do is just select the assembly and then click OK, and it's going to analyze all the parts in that assembly, and then it's going to tell me where I have interference with other parts. So you can see here I've got a little bit of interference, but you can see that's really negligible based on the volume. Well, you can't see it, but it is negligible. Oh, here we go. The volume is 1.982 times 10 to the power of negative 7, I believe, inches cubed, and that's basically nothing. So you can see that this assembly is made properly. So I'm going to use a really cool tool here called the visibility tool. So what it allows me to do is it allows me to make this part invisible so I can click on the items behind it. So it's just this little check mark right here, and now the part's invisible. So I can constrain these two wheels to be flush. So you can see on these wheels, I didn't even put in the bearings putting in bearings is great, and sometimes it's helpful, but sometimes it's useless. And this is one of the situations where it does not help me to put those bearings in. It actually just makes it more difficult for me to CAD and adds more parts. You can see total occurrences in active document and open documents in session. You want to keep that to a minimum so that your computer runs fast and the CAD runs fast. Seems like I've done something slightly wrong here because these two assemblies are very different. This one's way wider on this side than it is over here. So I'm going to sort of analyze where my holes are and see if I did this incorrectly. So that's all good. I'm wondering if the wheels are different sizes, the wheel assemblies. That should not be what the case is, but it's possible. So I just figured out my problem. I dimensioned each of the differences wrong. So what had happened was this wheel was way further inset than this one was because the place where I dimensioned it from was further inset on this wheel. Just make sure you check your assemblies and make sure everything's symmetrical when you have a symmetrical drive base because it really messes things up if you don't do this properly. That looks pretty good now. Yep. Okay, next things are adding the sims and making sure all the wheels are dimensioned on both sides. So here's a cool trick. I don't like this view of the Drivebase because this is not actually how the Drivebase looks when you put it in the field. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to choose the view that I like, which is something like that, and then I'm going to set my home view because I always use the home view to make things a lot easier for me. I'm going to set the home view fit to view, and now you can see that the home view, when I click on this little home button, is now the view that I actually want it to be. I will also do the same for setting the current view as front, so that I reorient my box in the top. So when I'm talking about the left side, the front side, the right side, everything goes properly. So here's something. Generally, it's very hard or not worth it to CAD belts or chains in CAD. So you can see how on the official CAD, they have CADed their belts and their chains. Well, actually, they're not using chains here, but they've CADed their belts. I don't think that's worth it to do. I don't think it's worth it to CAD the churros. I don't think it's worth it to CAD some of these bearings. I think what I've got right now is actually what's pretty optimal as far as things go. So I'm going to also add the sim motors which go on these gearboxes but are not included in this CAD. So something that's important to recognize that when you're doing CAD, whenever you download files, they're always going to come in a specific type of format, and that format is the STEP format, or STP format, or STEP format. What's important to notice about that is that you actually have to go to the files of type, and you have to deselect component files, because this is all you see when you see component files, and you have to go to all files, okay? You can also see a cool list of all of the CAD files you can open up in Inventor. Anything from SolidWorks files to STL files, which are for 3D printers, and then you've got, you know, AutoCAD files. So all cool things. You can open up so many files, and so I highly recommend checking out the all files because then you'll get so much more cool stuff to look at. So that's basically all you need to do for the CAD. Or at least the Drivebase CAD. We've got our wheels here, which demonstrate how high above the ground things are going to be, as well as our interferences with wheels. We've got all of our end and back plates. We've got our motors and our gearboxes to show that. It's important to realize that sometimes you are going to need to CAD bolts and bolt heads to make sure you have clearance for those objects, but generally I try to avoid that as much as possible since they're a little bit of a nuisance to CAD. Alright, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.